Hello, and welcome to the almost daily tutorial of the Fall for Watercolor Challenge. I didn't know you were getting a concert today. Y'all have had, I don't know, feeling like the coffee's hitting strong today. So I'm so excited to see you here in the live. For those of you tuning in later, hello. We are going to be painting some cute little carrots using the wet and wet technique. And this is like quintessential watercolor technique. When you see watercolor, it's like, woo. This is what you think of probably when you see when you're like, oh, that's watercolor. You're thinking probably of the wet and wet technique. So a couple housekeeping things. This is part of the Fall for Watercolor celebration. So in addition to having a daily painting challenge that you can find on TikTok or through the link below or on Instagram. Actually, side note, sorry, we're staying at this Airbnb while we have renovations, and the landscapers, I do not have control over when they arrive, and they have arrived just in time for our live. So we have people tuning in from the outside. So I'm sorry for any noise disturbances. Hopefully you can't hear it. Okay. So we've got our daily paintings. We also, this year, as an extra special bonus, I am going live Monday through Thursday with a different watercolor foundational core skill. And so we have covered some really exciting stuff. Today I'm going to be talking about the wet and wet technique as aforementioned. So should we get into it? Okay. All right. And so in the comments, if you're tuning in, let me know what your favorite thing about fall is so that I can count your vote, count your entry in the giveaway. So if you haven't entered in to the giveaway, definitely do that. The link is below. Okay. So we are talking about wet and wet, and what it is. Oh my gosh. Can you guys hear that? It's driving me crazy. Okay. Is when we have wetness on our paper. So I'm going to switch this over to my paper view. Okay, weird. All right, let's get this. So we've got my second camera here. Sorry, it's a little clunky. All right, so nope, that's not what I want. We're going to present another camera so you can see the side view. There we go. Okay, so we'll start top view here. Ooh, fall and Halloween for Tracy. Tracy, are you excited to paint together tomorrow? In our Tracy was a giveaway winner over the summer for a free painting party. So we're going to be painting with her friends tomorrow. I'm so excited. Okay, so wet and wet is when you have a wet spot on your paper. So we kind of talked about that yesterday with the water barrier. So let's go ahead and just kind of make a little box. We're going to do some exercises here. I'm going to illustrate all the things that we're talking about, and then we have like a little practice sesh that we'll get into. So if you want to just watch for now, and then we'll do our practice sesh, and then we'll have our actual carrot tutorial. Okay, so here we have our wet in wet moment. So right now we just have wet, and we are going to add some wet paint into this wet box. Okay, so what happens, instead of like when you're dialing with markers and having like a distinct line, when you add wet paint to a wet area, it is going to spread out. The paint and the water are all going to try to disperse across that water barrier. And we talked about that yesterday. So if you did miss that video, definitely go check it out. And this is super fun. There are tons of ways that you can drop paint in. So let's talk a little bit about, also please, if you have questions as we're going through this, let me know. Okay. So let's kind of talk about the different ways you can drop paint in. So we've got our nice, oh gosh, I love this color. I wish I remembered how we made it yesterday. I guess I could rewatch my own video. Like burnt orange, yummy. Okay, so You can drop paint in from above. Should we do that? So you load your brush up and you kind of, oop, might even need a little bit more. You need a lot of water for this. Whoop, there we go. Okay. So you can drop it from above. You can dot it in, dot, 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 dot. The lighter the touch, the less is going to drip. You can put it in along the edge. I really like this. I really like kind of putting it along an edge, and it gives it this cool border because you've got the defined edge of your water barrier, and then it just cascades into the middle. So that's super fun. You can also kind of move it around in there. So you can do some blending here. We talked about creating a wash. And so this is one way that you can manipulate the wash once you've already dropped in the paint. So see how I'm kind of blending these areas together and getting this like really nice mossy green kind of brown color. There are so many ways we can go with this. The like staple feature of the Wet n Wet is that you are not going to have crisp lines. You are going to have much more whimsical, ephemeral lines, and you kind of have to let everything just be left up to fate. So some people like that, some people don't. If you want to tell me in the comments, are you like I love the whimsy of watercolor, let the paints flow, or are you like, I need to control this watercolor? Gah! What's going on? Let me know in the comments. Oh my gosh, people's favorite things are, we've got a lot of Halloween, we've got cooler weather. People are sharing their favorite things about fall. Ooh, apple orchards, pumpkin patch, apple cider donuts. Yes, please. Walking in crunchy leaves, sweater weather, trees and their colors. Jennifer, I'm right there with you. Oh, and the cooler temps, me too. I never have to wear shorts, that would be great. Okay. So when we're looking at the water barrier, we've talked a little bit more about how the paint spreads. And some of you are saying, yes, I like it. Some of you are saying, no, thank you. No, thank you. So my type A, I'm going to share with you some little tips and tricks of how you can control, to some extent, the spread of your wet additions. Before I get into that, I would like to show you, you can also do just water. Here, I'm going to take my side view here. Let's add this to the stage. Okay, so if you, I don't know, can you see where the water is on there? So I can add just water because it's wet, right? And this still counts as wet and wet. And then you can drip your color into that and it's going to stay in the water barrier. So this is a really fun way to add color to your page. Kind of like reminds me of Elsa and like the ice exploding. Another thing you can do is you can add, God, this color is gorgeous. This is Phthalo Turquoise by Mayberry Blue. And I'm using my Princeton Neptune brush, round size 4, which I also love. Not sponsored, just a fan. Okay, so what I'm doing now is we have our circle. I'm going to switch us back to the main view. We have our circle, and I am adding in just water. So I've cleaned my brush off. Boop! And you can see it kind of pushes the pigment away. So that's another thing you can do. It doesn't have to just be paint. It can be wet and wet, can just be plain water. So, okay, I want to hear what people are saying about the pigments. So VS says, love leaving the pigments blend, but my left brain doesn't like it. I hear that. Anna Louise, I love watercolor, but I need to control it, and then I don't like it. Okay, so the need to control and it not working for you. I'm going to highlight this because I think a lot of people probably relate to that. The need to control it, and then you don't like it when it doesn't do what you want. So I think you're in the right place. Anna Louise, I'm going to be going into that for sure. And then I love watercolor because it forces me to let go of control. All right. I was a single mom for 16 years and a teacher. So the whole need to be a control thing is a real vibe. I totally get that. All right. And then Melinda says, depends on what I'm painting if I want it to bleed. Yeah. So great. That's a really great point. There are occasions when we do want this, and there are occasions when we don't. So let's talk about some ways in which we can attempt to control the flow of water. So two main things come to mind. One, how much water we're using. And if you're watching these tutorials, one thing you'll notice is it all comes back to water and water control. Yes, paint is important. Yes, brushes are important, but the amount of water that you have on your paper, once you can really, I don't think that you can ever master it, but like, not you, like no one can, right? Because water is, it depends what temperature you're in or how like dry your paper. Like there's so many things. So it can't be perfect, right? Nothing is. But the ways that you are going to gain more mastery and control over your watercolor is really understanding how the water amount affects your painting. So if you are thinking about water dispersing, if you have a really wet area, really wet box here, and we add in really wet water, we're going to have a lot less, or a really wet paint to that wet. Oh my gosh, could I say wet more? What a drinking game. Okay, so we have a really wet box here, and I have loaded up a juicy little brush here, and I'm adding in, and there is not a ton of definition. Like it's just all over the place. You can even see as I move this around, like we've got no control over that. It's just, look, it's already blended itself together. Like we're not seeing the beauty of that paint traveling. Okay. Sorry, Dave, taking a little quick coffee sip. Okay. So next, let's do like a box that's maybe too dry. Okay, so we have a box here. I'm trying to make it just really dry so it's like not, this would be like a not very good wash because it's not going to give us much time to work in it. And then let's do like a really dry bonus color, okay? So it's not going to go too far. So the drier your paint is, the more control you're going to have over it. But if this is already dry, based on what we learned yesterday in the water barriers, if your base layer is already dry, it's not wet and wet anymore. So you're not going to get that playful whimsy. So like this piece is already dry. So if I were to drop color into that, you see it's not going anywhere. Here, let's switch the camera. So see how it's not moved anywhere? Oh my God, this one. Ah! Too much. Let me get a little paper towel. Keep our workspace clean. It's a joke. We're always a mess here. So in order to have wet and wet, it would make sense that you have to have a wet underlayer. Okay, so let's talk about when you have an uneven water density, an uneven water amount for your wet and wet. Okay, so let's say we have a really juicy circle here. I'm gonna add a little more water in so we can actually see what's going on. This color is so vibrant. Okay, love it, love it. Okay, so now if I'm gonna add in a really dry, let's do a yellow because I think that's gonna really give us the best chance of seeing what's going on. So this doesn't have a ton of paint on it. It's pretty dry. The square is running away. So I can put this in. Boop. I don't know if you can see because it really isn't going too much because there isn't enough water on this paintbrush to really make it flow. So let's try to add a little bit more water to this mixture that I'm adding in. Whoa! Do you see that? So the more water you add, the more it's going to flow. Okay, so now let's look at a drier circle, and we're going to add some color to it and see what difference that makes. So it kind of depends on what's on the page and what you're bringing to the page. Okay. This is a little bit of a drier circle here. Let's see. So I'm going to add a drier amount of pink to one side. I'm just going to do a little line. There we go. And then let's add like a juicy pink to the other side. Okay. See how the water is really, or that like yellow green is really taking to this side? That's because the brush had more water than the circle. The brush was more hydrated than the circle. The circle was thirsty, so it's like, give me that pigment. Okay, this is a lot of information, but what I want you to take away from this is that as you are hoping to discover more things about watercolor and wet, especially that whimsy, the more you understand about how the level of water affects your painting, the better. And I will say, like, this changes based on what paper you're using. This changes depending on what brushes you're using. So I feel like these are like the little nuances that not a lot of tutorials cover. And it's one of the things that I think has been a game changer in my artwork more than anything else, honestly. So this is something I think you just need to like play around with, like make circles, play with the wet and wet, kind of like what we were doing with the water barriers. Like watercolor invites play, and this is a really great opportunity to play in a way that's going to expand your craft. Okay. So let's do a little exercise. I'm going to just do it right here. So if you have a pencil handy, we're going to do now 1 minute. So we're just going to make a couple little boxes, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to time it. So maybe let's do 30 seconds. And let's do 1 minute. And let's do 1.5 minutes and 2 minutes. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to wet all of these at the same time. Okay. And we're going to try to make it like a really consistent wash. Okay. So I'm trying to get like an even amount so we have like a good case study of how time affects the way this paint spreads. So I'm trying to get like a nice consistent, what is it called in the control, right? A consistent control here in my squares. So I like to think of it like an ice rink that has just been Zambonied. So it's not spilling up, it's not pooling over. Like if I were to wiggle my page, I would not see the water pooling around in my water barrier, but it's also not going to dry right away. And I like it to look shiny. Okay, it looks like that one needs like a little bit more. And of course, this is like not an exact science, so just do your best. Okay, so let's start a timer. Oh, geez. Let's see. Timer. Okay, so we're going to do it at, what do we want it at? 2 minutes. Oh, no. Okay. So start. So what we're going to do in our first box is we are going to add a color right now. Okay, so get just some sort of color, and we're going to just drop a little drop in there just to see what's up. Okay. And we want to try to keep that drop consistent so we can also feel. Okay, so Anna says, oh, okay, 30 seconds now. Anna says, I always feel like testing is wasting material. I try to only use it for final painting. I totally get that. So we're just waiting now until we hit 1 minute. And here is my counterpoint is if you are not practicing on the material that you're going to be painting on, it's going to be very difficult. Okay, 1 minute, do your next dot. It's going to be very difficult to get a sense of how much, sorry, I'm like really bad at looking at the timer and trying to figure out what I'm going to say. It can be really difficult to get a sense of how the paper and the paint and water is all going to mix together. Okay, 1 minute 30. So I know really good watercolor paper is expensive. So my thought for that is get some little sheet, get like one sheet and cut it up into like a couple different pieces, and that can be your practice paper. And then you have a chance to test it out on that paper that you're actually using, rather than kind of going in cold on that nice. Oh, that's our time. I was like, okay, put the final dot in. Sorry. Okay, stop it. All right, it is always a Spazzy McSpazzerson journey here. Okay, so let's take a look. So when we went and did it, when it first started, it's not super defined. Oh, hi, Indra. Welcome. Thank you. Indra says, I'm from India and I love all your videos. Thank you. Okay, so here, I'm going to bring this closer. So here, this one isn't super defined. It's really like loose and it's dispersed really well. This 30-second one, it's spread a bit, but not too much. I'm looking at this 1 minute and I'm thinking maybe I had a little bit too much water here. And the way that oh God, sorry. I have a little too much water there. And the way that I'm noticing that is that the paint, these should be progressing as we go. And this one was a little off and I just messed it up. So in the 1.5, it's spread out a little bit. And then the 2 minute, that's going to be the one that spreads out the most because your paper is the thirstiest. So if you're adding the same amount of paint in your addition in the blue color, when the paper is the thirstiest, when it's closest to dry is going to be where it spreads out the most. And then if we were to wait for these to dry, I think this one might be dry. No. If we were to wait for these to dry, we would have like a nice clean line, almost as if we had gone over it with a marker. Okay. So do we have any questions about that? I'll give you a second. All right. So now for our exercise, for our painting today, we are going to be painting carrots, like a bunch of carrots. So I'm just going to kind of lightly sketch my design because I know I'll probably go rogue. Let's see. So I'm going to do it pretty dark, actually, so you can see. And I want these to be kind of gnarly little carrots. Okay, they're all kind of bunched together. Look at that weird one. And then we're going to have like the leaves kind of come out like that. So you don't have to sketch this ahead of time. I just wanted to give you a sense of where we're going with this. Maybe we have like another one right here. That one's a crazy one. Okay, you take a little sip of coffee and we're going to get into it while you guys are getting your colors activated. Okay, so I'm going to use, my paints are actually pretty activated. If you want to use a spray bottle or drop some water onto your watercolor paints, that's going to get them ready to party. And what we're going to do is we are going to really lean into the wet and wet of these carrots. These carrots are going to be those multicolor carrots. So we're going to have some purple, some orange. We're going to have, here, let me back this up so I can kind of show you the colors on my palette that I am mixing up. So I'm getting some like purple, and I'm going to mix in a bit of this orange into that purple to give it like a little earthier vibe. We have some kind of reddish orange carrots happening. Don't they make yellow carrots? So I'm going to use this Indian yellow here with a little bit of lemon yellow. Maybe like, yeah. Okay, so I've got a nice little smattering of some colors here. I'm pretty happy with that. You want to have these colors mixed up ahead of time, especially if you're working in wet and wet, because this is going to be like, we're going to be working fast. Oh yeah, I've got the purple over here. We're ready to go. So we're going to be working quickly because we don't want to let it dry. So when we're thinking about wet and wet, people usually use it for like backgrounds that they want to maybe be out of focus. They can use it for blending, like blending, think about like a petal and blending that color really softly from one color to another, like an iris or something. Other people will use it for this quick, loose watercolor style in which we're just doing it all mostly in one layer and not waiting for it to dry in between. So that's what we're doing here. Oh, and sunsets, like skyscapes is great for wet and wet. Okay, but we're talking about carrots right now. So I'm really loving this purple color. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I've got a size 4. Make sure that your brush is an appropriate size for the area that you're covering. Okay, so if you are using a very tiny piece of paper, you're going to want a tiny brush. If you're using a very big piece of paper, you're going to want a big brush. Okay, so I'm filling in this shape, and I'm doing a nice juicy wash here, maybe a little bit more than our Zamboni. So it's shiny. Does anybody like, let me know if Zamboni is like not a reference that works. It's like the thing that goes over an ice rink to like smooth it out in between hockey matches, which is very interesting that I'm using a sports metaphor. So if you have another metaphor that works better, that would be great. Okay, so we've got our purple carrot. Now, if we want to use the wet and wet technique, we're going to come right up to this carrot. I'm going to create a little bit of a water barrier here. And then at the very last second, I'm going to let these kind of bleed together right here. So you can create a water barrier, like a little line, and have it connect wherever you want, or you can just like let them abut up to each other and go crazy. That is really your choice. So I like leaving a little bit of a line to give it definition in between. Can you see like the little tiny sliver of white? Okay. So here I'm just filling in the shape of my carrot, trying to get a nice juicy covering here so I have time to play with it. Let's get a yellow carrot going on next to this. And I'm gonna, again, leave just a little bit of a water barrier between these two carrots. And then I can decide where I want it to connect. I think I want it to connect like, oh, it's already connecting down there because I was doing a little bit of a sloppy painting, and that's okay. And I want it to connect up here too. Okay, if you feel like it's starting to get a little too dry in some of the areas, just add some water, just kind of drop some water in there. I might even add some of this yellow in here to this orange carrot just for fun. And I think I want these to like commingle a little bit more. Okay, mwah, a little smoochy kiss. All right, let's do like a more red carrot. maybe. Do they have red ones? I'm like second guessing myself. Okay. So I do want a little bit of gap between this one and the yellow one because I don't want it to like, actually I want this one to be a little bit more orange. Change my mind. Because I want that one underneath to be like kind of, well, I might have that one be yellow. Who knows? The world is my oyster. As this is not dry yet, I can keep fussing with it until it's dry. I mean, then you can keep fussing with it too. It's just going to not be the wet and wet technique. Okay. Got our nice little carrots. All right. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, but I know you guys are probably busy painting your little buns off. Okay. I'm going to do a yellow one here. And I might even add in, I really like that purple color that we mixed up. So I might even add in like a little bit of like a little purple one over here. Just a little scraggly purple butt. Okay, maybe one right here too. Oh my gosh, carrots are so fun. They're just like so funny shape. Okay, I love that. I might do like a little orange one kind of over here. And I kind of love that these like don't have the pencil lines. So it's just like, oh, hey, just some extra little carrots in the background. Oh God. I'm really getting into that wet and wet over here on that purple carrot. Let's do just another one right here. Okay, great. So now, before this dries, I am feeling kind of wild. I really want the greenery of my carrots to commingle with the tops of the carrots. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of green before it dries. So I'm using my green gold and then like a little bit of blue, just to kind of deepen it. And this is like, you're just going to go crazy. It's just like lots of little brush marks. I'm just kind of, they just have all these like really tenderly kind of, and I don't know, it might be too dry, but I'm just lightly touching the tops of my carrots. And some of it is going in, some of it isn't, and I'm okay with that. Let's get a little bit more. We've got a lot of carrots in here, so you can really go to town. Think of it all bunched together. Maybe we'll add like a little bow at the end. And I'm okay that there's white space. Like I'm not making stems. I'm kind of okay with the like not being stems. Now I'm gonna mix in some darker colors here to give it a little depth. So see how I did lighter colors first? And now we're doing some darker colors. So let's kind of zoom in here so you can see what's cracking. Okay. Maybe we'll do a little bit right there. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. I really want to get into my carrots before they totally dry. And add like maybe a little bit of like dirt. So I've got some brown over here. Just, they're coming from the ground, right? So I'm just going to add some dirt here and there around the edges. This is actually perfect because they're almost dry, but like not quite. So it's going to spread really softly around these shapes. And you know how carrots kind of have ridges? So you can kind of, add in those little ridges there. Oh, yes. You're so cute, you little carrot. Okay. And if you're wanting to kind of darken some of your carrots, like we're really digging this purple color. So while it's still drying and not dry yet, I'm just adding in a little bit more purple. Because why not? This one looks like it might be a little bit dry. So that's okay. It's not wet and wet, but I still like what's happening. And let's add a little bit more to this orange here. I feel like it could just use a little more attention. All right. I can dig it. Okay, I'm going to add in just like a little bit of more dark green kind of here where all of them would be clustered together, where we'd be getting like the most shadow. And I'm just dotting here with my paintbrush, allowing that wet and wet to commingle. I really like how there are parts of it that has dried, there are parts of it that hasn't, and I'm just letting the paint do its thing. All right, so let me know if you guys are having any questions. I think we're gonna wait for this to dry, and then I might do like a little bow here. I don't know, what do we think? You guys are probably painting, so I'll give you a second. But I do want to give you all a chance to ask questions. Let me know how this is going for you. I know I went actually probably too fast. Did your paint dry faster than you thought? Did it dry slower than you thought? Let me know. And I am filming a little behind the scenes over here on TikTok. So if anybody on TikTok has any questions, so somebody on TikTok said, wait, drier equals more spread? That seems backwards. Yeah, so it isn't, it is more spread because it's dispersing evenly. But the other factor too is it'll spread if it's wet, but it's going to have less control. So it's going to have more controlled spread. The drier your base layer is. All right, so seems like we're doing pretty well here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what tomorrow will bring. So tomorrow we are going to be doing an apple. We're going to be painting a little apple, and we're going to be talking about the lift technique. So in addition to adding paint onto our page when it is wet, we can also lift that paint up. So before it dries, you still have an opportunity to lift the paint up. So we'll get into the apple with like layers and talking about highlights, which will be super fun. If you haven't joined into the Fall for Watercolor daily painting challenge, today we're painting an oak leaf and a horse chestnut leaf, which is super pretty, and I've been really excited with seeing everybody's. Make sure you tag me on whatever social media platform you're on so that I can count your entry. I'm gonna switch it to my face while this is drying. Oh, I don't have my face on here, so just kidding. You can look at my hands. And I can tell that this is wet because it's still shiny. Like, can you see how it's a little shiny right here especially? So I'm gonna just give it a little bit more time. So make sure you sign up in the link in my bio so I have you officially registered, and then everything that you paint and post counts as an entry toward the grand prize. And we have paints, we have brushes, we have paper. There's so many goodies that I've been hoarding for quite some time. I'm even going to be reaching out to some more sponsors. Yes, it is it is horse chestnut. Sorry. I am behind. So I'm painting my oak leaf today. Horse chestnut is also today. And then tomorrow is, what is tomorrow? Anna, I'm glad you're on it because somebody has to be. Tomorrow is a white birch leaf. All right, so I'm going to use my little hairdryer to hasten this journey along. All right. Oh, yeah. So thank you for explaining. Yeah, I think that is a very common thing that people struggle with when doing watercolor is is finding the right level of water to have more control. Okay. Okay. It's mostly dry. And so let's kind of use this as an example of what might happen if you do it when it is not all the way dry. Okay, so I'm making like a nice dark brown here for my little string, a little twine. And I'm gonna kind of just do like with my tiny little brush, just a couple little There we go. And it looks like actually this part is dry all the way. So I'm going to do a little bow. I don't know if I like this, but here we are. Kind of think it ruined it, but you know, we did it. So I think maybe if it were a little darker, I might like it better. Okay. What do we think? Did the bow ruin it? Yep. Should we post the class painting? Yes. If you would like to post, you've already got an entry for joining it. So here, let me back up. So Rachel asked, should we post the class painting and the daily 3-minute painting for entries? If you would like to post the class painting, that will count as an extra entry. I've also marked you as attending. So it's kind of like that is my way of counting that you've participated in the live or the replay. Okay, so I don't like the ribbon. I think it kind of ruined it. But this is a great illustration of what wet and wet can accomplish. Now, just because we did it in a wet and wet style doesn't mean that we can't go back in here and add a little bit more details. So if you wanted to go back in and maybe add like a little bit of shadow here, just know it's not going to blend. It's going to be more of a harsh line. So you can always blend it with your brush, and I kind of like that. I might do that. So let's just take you through that. Why not? So I'm just adding little lines here to give that carroty definition, these little ridges. And these aren't going to blend in. So I like that. Okay, so let me take Rachel's comment. And I wanted to, I saw a post from a friend the other day, and she was saying, you know, I keep seeing these challenges and like just 5 minutes every day or whatever. And it's not the season that I'm in right now. And, you know, I don't want anybody to feel pressure to do any of this if it's not serving you. So if this is fun and you're enjoying it and it's like lighthearted and you're learning and excited about it, great. If it somehow becomes something that feels like too much, that's okay too. Like you don't owe me or the internet or yourself anything to like complete this challenge. This is not about like, look at my durability. Blah. Like this is about you and what's good for you and connecting with your creative side. And if that's not what season you're in right now, like I want you to know that it is okay. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to do everything perfectly and like, oh, well, if we don't, you know, do this all the days, then I failed. Like literally the fact that you're here watching this right now means you haven't failed. Even if you only do one thing, like that's great. Even if you decide, you know, I'm not going to do any of it anymore. Like I want you to know that's like really okay. I mean, you don't need my permission, but like, just in case you do, just in case you feel like you're giving yourself a hard time, stop it. Be kind to my little artist, okay? All right, so I like what that added. I think it added just a little bit of pizzazz. And yeah, you can always add more color into like these little pieces that we did, like double wet and wet. So that's fun, but that's pretty much it for today. I will see you. Oh, I just wanted to note. So Anna Louise said, I'm using it to practice without feeling bad for using the paint. Yes. The only type of wasted paint, Anna Louise, is paint that isn't used. Okay. So on that note, thank you so much for joining me. I've had such a wonderful time painting with you. I will see you on the internet, tagging the heck out of your pieces so you can get more entries for the giveaway. Make sure you follow along on the newsletter if you're not already so that I can I'm giving out a little tip every day and linking to videos and things like that. So thank you. Have a wonderful day and happy painting. Okay, bye.